Good morning, guys. So today I want to talk about what to do if the media wants a video you have, or a viral piece of content, and the news wants it. Let's say you were at something happened. You were at some party or on the street. You happen to capture something on your phone, and the news, you post on Twitter. It starts to go viral, and you start getting requests by news agencies if they can use your video or use your picture or whatever it may be. So let's talk about how to handle this, because I can give you some behind the scenes of what goes on, and probably some options you can take. So the first thing you can do is just be nice and grant permission when somebody reaches out to you on email or Twitter to use your little viral video that you recorded on your phone. Any news company is going to love that, and I feel like I should just say that, as somebody who works in media. You're more than welcome to just be like, yeah, of course, use it. And you can say, yeah, use it, just credit me or credit my Twitter, ask for any kind of credit you want. So there's that option. But let's say, you have some crazy moment that you capture on camera with animals happening, something with animals, or, where there's a big fight, a car fight, or road rage. Something that's suddenly, newsworthy and it's going viral. Inevitably, you're going to get media companies reaching out to you to see if they can use your clip. And they're going to say, like, hey, we love this clip. We're wondering if we could use it in an article or a video. We'll be sure to give credit. Is that okay? Thanks. DM me, or can you DM me back? So if this happens and you find yourself in that situation, the best approach, if you don't want to just give out the credit for free to everybody, is to say no until you find usually there's a couple companies like Viral Hog, or I forget the Storify, that their entire business model is based around licensing viral clips to media companies. So if your clip is going viral, you got to make a decision kind of right away. If you're going to grant permission to anybody who can use it, great. If not, what you need to do is say no, and you need to say no right off the bat. You can't just grant permission to one company and then say no later. I'll go into that reason why a bit later in the video. But just say no. Be like, no, not this moment. And I'm sure Viral Hog or one of these, Storify, one of these media companies will reach out to you. That's their job, is to reach out to you and offer you a revenue sharing model, which is like, hey, we will protect your little viral video from being unwarrantedly used on the internet, and we'll split profits, 60-40, whatever it may be, and we'll license this video out to media companies that we have a relationship with, and we'll give you 40% or 60% of whatever money this clip is making. So that's one way to go about it, is to kind of sign over an exclusive rights agreement, revenue sharing agreement, exclusive rights. That's a keyword, to like Viral Hog or something of that manner. And then Viral Hog will immediately take control of the video and say, like, you need to contact Viral Hog or whomever if you want to use this. Now, media companies hate this because they're notoriously cheap and don't want to pay. Although, once again, it depends on the quality of video. So that's if you want to kind of take the easy way and do a revenue sharing model and just have it taken care of for you. You can also, if media companies are reaching out, but once again, you have to do this right off the bat. If news media companies start reaching out to you to use a clip of yours, you can say, yes, I will grant you a non-exclusive license, which means like they're allowed to use the clip, but other people may be allowed to use a clip on your basis later in the future or in the present. So non-exclusive license for X amount of money. And you can say, yeah, $50. I'll give you a non-exclusive license for $50, or $100 or $200, $300. See if the media company will bite. See if you can license it yourself. But you gotta do this kind of across the board, because what will happen is if you grant permission to the first two media companies that reach out, let's say like Washington Post gets to you and some German company gets to you, and you're like, yeah, sure, you can use it, and then suddenly NBC and CNN and everybody else descends, you're like, oh my gosh, no, wait, what am I doing? The problem is, once you've granted it a few times, if you were to ever want to take let's say, and then you say no, you can't use it, and NBC uses it anyway, and you were to take NBC to court for using your copyrighted content, your intellectual property without use, they're going to argue like, well, at that point it became newsworthy because other media outlets were covering it, and therefore it gives us a legal way to also use the clip. Because once something like, there's two main ways media companies get away with using content that isn't theirs. Fair use, which work needs to be like transformative generally in nature, or not a market substitute. Those are the two like guidelines for using something as fair use. So transformative and not a market substitute. But the other way that media companies will use content that's not yours is something called newsworthy. And that if something is defined, now these are very nebulous terms, if anything's defined as sufficiently newsworthy, the media can use that clip. So as sad or tragic it may be, if there's like a school shooting or something, and one media company gets a hold of the footage, and another media company gets a hold of the footage, well then suddenly the other media companies will start covering the other media companies. And they'll just say, well, it's newsworthy, it was in the cultural zeitgeist, da 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 da. And most courts will grant that, because in the United States at least, we have a very unregulated media press industry, which is something we can talk about in a different video. So those are the two ways that like media companies will use other people's content, is fair use and if it's newsworthy. So you can't half grant, to some media publisher companies and then not grant to others. I mean, you can. It's just gonna be more difficult if you want to, file a cease and desist, or take them to court to try to get some monetary compensation for using a clip that you didn't authorize them to use. So those would be my three options. Would be like, you can just grant it and say, yep, of course. You can reach out to a licensing company this is a whole business model and do a revenue split. So that means they're not going to make all the money, but they may be able to get you some better deals, especially if media companies really want to use it. Or two, you can try doing it yourself. And the language you want to use is, non-exclusive, licensing right. You don't want to say, like, if a media company says, can we have the exclusive rights, we'll pay you the exclusive rights, and they might offer a lot of money. You might find yourself in a situation where a media company comes to you and says, well, we'll give you $1,000, $2,000, but we want the exclusive rights. That means they then own the story, and they control who can publish that video, and you no longer have the ability to like grant access to that clip you took to other media companies, or to yourself even sometimes. A good example of this is like kind of what got President Donald Trump in trouble when some of the tabloids were buying the stories of women. They were buying the exclusive rights to the story and then shutting it down. So that way Stormy Daniels, who remember, actually couldn't talk about it because she sold the exclusive rights for a sum of money. So there's that approach. Let's also talk a little bit about what to do if you find a picture you've taken, an artwork you've drawn, a GIF you've made, a meme you've made, any sort of like artistic endeavor you've done, whether it be on Tumblr or your own website or DeviantArt or who cares. Let's say you made something that's within like a reasonable person would assume that like you put some creative effort into, and then you saw that a media company had used it in one of their articles. They had used your photo or your image or your artwork in one of their articles or one of their videos. And you just stumbled across it. And you said, well, nobody ever reached out to me. I'll tell you from personal experience, this happens all the time. Deadlines are a real thing. People are under pressure, especially media companies. Things want to get done quick. And a lot of times people just kind of grab things that they think they can get away with at a big media company. Figuring, whatever, it probably won't ever get seen, etc. But if you do find yourself in a situation where something you made suddenly appears in some sort of media outlet, and you've never been contacted, and you weren't even aware of this, and you didn't give the rights away to anybody else, you are more than welcome to send, nobody knows this, but more than welcome to send a little legal letter saying, hi, I noticed you used my content unauthorized. I'd like to seek damages, and then ask for a sum of money. saying like, if you pay me $500, I won't sue you over this, over copyright infringement. And most of the time, they'll do it. I don't want to say 100% of the time, but because of the nature of media companies, there's so many people making so many different things at all these companies that it's actually a not infrequent occurrence, and a lot of media companies settle these little claims all the time behind the scenes. You know, like, whoops, that person's original art drawing from Tumblr got used in this post and this video, and they never got permission. Their back end, business side is just going to cut a check. If you write in and say, hey, that was mine, and nobody ever asked me, and I'm going to sue you unless you give me $500. They'll give you the check. So don't be afraid to just send out a little legal letter saying, give me some money for that, if that's what you want. Or if you want them to take it down, threaten to take it down and say, hey, you better take that down or I'll sue you. But you have rights. Even though media companies are big and seem imposing, they're just people like you and I behind a big building with a big brand. The third thing I want to talk about, though, is you can leverage a lot of the times. This is circling back if media companies are asking to use something you have right in the moment, like you've captured something on your phone, and media companies are just descending on you like, hey, can I use this? Hey, can I use this? A lot of times, like let's say it's a little viral video and they want to do a story around it, they'll build the story as if they have the rights to use it, right? So they built this entire video around your viral video, or they built an entire post or article reporting around this video. And then it's done, and it's just sitting kind of in a holding dock to be published until they get your permission. And they, like most media companies, will operate that way, operate on this assumption, and most people just grant the permission because they're not thinking about anything else. Most people, they rely on the generosity of the average person rather than the average person being like, wait a minute, this is mine, I could charge money for this. But so they'll go ahead and build the entire thing and then put it in kind of in a holding dock, waiting for you to grant permission. And if you suddenly don't grant permission, they get pretty upset, media companies do. And that might give you a little bit of leverage. If you suddenly want to, if they're asking and you remain silent for 6 hours across the board and you don't respond, I'm sure they'll build some piece of content around it and then keep it, right in a holding dock, and they won't hit publish until you've granted permission if they're smart. That's when you send them an email and say, like, yeah, you can use it, give me $100, a non-exclusive license. You might have some leverage there, and you might see your PayPal account go up $100. So that's how I would handle, from just a layman's perspective, what to do if the media wants a piece of content that you have. Same as also true that, just as they'll put it in a holding dock and won't publish until they get permission, sometimes they'll build it around and publish it even without the permission, assuming they'll get it in reverse, and they'll just backdate it. I've seen this happen before too at various companies. That also gives you a very strong position to be like, did not grant you permission, pay up. Anyway, hopefully that's some decent advice for what to do if the media wants a piece of content you have. We can also talk at a later date what to do if the media wants to talk to you. Anyway, just thought for the morning. Hope you guys have a good day.